Well, I appreciate everybody coming. I don't have much to say. Coaches can brag about the recruiting class, but now that they're signed, I'll tell you the truth, we won't know if they can play for a couple years. So I'll answer any questions you have.
Coach, do you anticipate any of these kids possibly having a chance to play early? Which ones do you see maybe playing early?
Other than the two transfer guys, I would doubt that any of them could play early, and if they do, I don't know which one. I have no idea which one. I mean, we took 6 DBs, but that's because we have 6 senior DBs too. So, I mean, that's for them to play the year after next, not next year. That's for them to play the year after next. You never know. I mean, we're going to look for a running back to alternate with Adam Wema, and so we've got those running backs coming in. They'd have a chance to play. I don't know. Tight end's probably the best position for a guy to play since we lost 3 tight ends.
Can you speak specifically about the San Diego kids this time that you were able to recruit?
Well, all 3 of them have a lot of upside to them. They're good athletes that have played on both sides of the ball. Now, obviously, we recruited them to play in a certain position, but with all positions, even quarterback, with all positions, we give them a chance to play where they want to play, and then if we can see that they can benefit the team in some other position, we move them. And so we try, in recruiting other than offensive linemen, in recruiting every other position, we try to recruit athletes that can play multiple positions, and all three of the San Diego guys can play multiple positions.
And are you done now, Rocky, or are you still kind of looking a couple extra spots along the way, or what's the situation now after today?
Well, the situation is we signed 24. We can count 2 of them backwards because we didn't sign a full allotment last year. These are all NCAA rules. We only have room for 17. Okay. Several of these young men have been approached with the possibility of gray shirting and are willing to do that. But in my experience, we will have 2 or 3 more spots available due to an academic issue or due to an injury or something. So there's a chance that all 24 will show up in the fall. Now, we even have a young man that just came to our program, Chase Favreau, that we signed last year, and he gray shirted. Okay? And for freshmen, gray shirting is really a good idea. They have a chance to get a few units in junior college. As long as they're not full-time students, they can come in and practice and compete in spring practice, which gives them a much better chance to play than if they come just this summer. Most of these freshmen don't really have an honest chance to play as freshmen when they come in the summer. But if they go through spring practice and through an off-season program, they have a lot better chance to play. So gray shirting is a pretty good deal. And so some of these guys understand that it's a good deal, and they'd be willing to do it if they had to.
Coach, how about Ronnie Daniels? You guys tried to get him in the fall, and now he's signed a letter of intent. Is he going to be able to play it this year?
Yes, he'll be able to play this year. By rules, you have to sit out 1 calendar year when you transfer. Now, he has some academic things he has to take care of, and he's in a junior college right now. And as long as he takes care of his academic work in the junior college, he could play next season. Or, I mean, we can't even get him in school if he didn't take care of his junior college academics.
Talk a little bit about what you guys saw in him, because from everything I've read, he was kicked off the Texas Tech team after some rules violations. Did that put up any red flags for you guys?
It's like everybody else. He's no different than everybody else on this list. We investigate their families. We investigate their backgrounds. We investigate if they have any problems in their past or any issues that might come up while they're here, and we're pretty satisfied that he's learned from his mistakes.
Did you know about him from your time in New Mexico?
Oh, of course I did, yeah.
And Rocky, I know you just said that you're not going to know how well these guys can play for a couple of years, but at this point compared to this point in past years on National Signing Day, how does this class compare to the other ones that you brought in?
Well, number one, we have a lot more states. We've recruited a lot of guys from different states. I mean, it's a more diverse class, if you want to put it that way. They're from all over the country, as far as Florida, and I could list all the states they're from. And I have a reason. I think a reason for that. I think when people thought we were going to the Big East, I think in retrospect, it was a real benefit that it looked like we were going to the Big East, because we got in contact with a lot of people that had never been in contact with us before about possibility of recruiting their players or their school or their state. And as soon as we went back to the Mountain West Conference, obviously we were concerned that that might make a difference in these guys that we were recruiting, and it didn't make any difference whatsoever to them once they visited here and realized how good things are here. And so what it has done is opened up a whole bunch of different recruiting areas that San Diego State never had in the past. And obviously the more places you can recruit and the more possibilities you have, the better recruiting you can do. And I think that overall this, if you go just by their high school films, this is a little step up from classes we've had in the past. But that doesn't mean they'll be as good as the guys we got right now, because they have to develop just like those guys did.
And Rocky, do you think this is a trend that can continue now that you started to open up pipelines in pretty much all over the country, that you'll keep bringing guys from Florida's and Nevada's, Hawaii's, and all these places?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it's done. Over the last year, there's been a lot of things that may be negative about what's happened to us over the last year, but this is a real positive. We've made relationships with high school coaches. We've made relationships with scouting people in those states. There's high school coaches that are contacting us now about players from their states that in the past we had no interaction with those people. And now if those kids come out and do a good job and have a successful career here and like it here, guess what? It's just going to open up more.
So in the past you've said that you pretty much focus on the Southwest, cover all of California and these areas.
Arizona and Nevada, yeah.
Does that mean you change your recruiting strategy going forward and maybe send people more out into, like the Floridas and Chicago's, like things like that?
No, I think that we will canvass all of California like we always do. We will canvass Nevada like we always do, and we will canvass Arizona like we always do. What I think is happening now is people are making contact with us from all those other places, and I expect that to increase since we signed all these guys from those states. And when people contact us from other states, then we evaluate the young people that they're recommending, and if we like them, we start recruiting them. So what it is, it's increased the volume of athletes we get to evaluate. It hasn't increased the amount, it increases the amount of travel we have a little bit once we find one out there that we like. But we're not going to send coaches out there to canvass every high school in Florida or every high school in Missouri or every high school in Illinois. We don't have the resources to do that. Now, we do send a coach to Texas, okay? But other than that, it'll be mostly them making initial they'll get a hold of us initially, and then we'll take it from there. And that's what happened with most of these guys from out of state.
And Rocky, you guys have been going up against a lot of the bigger name schools in this class and beating out a lot of them as well, especially for these guys in this class. Is that just because of the way you guys have been performing better on the field these past couple of years, or are there other factors that might not be as noticeable?
No, I think that our success in the program in the last couple of 3 years has opened up a lot of people's eyes. And contrary to sometimes popular opinion, I'm not saying anybody in this room, but, I've been accused in the past of, well, you don't go after the big names. That is as far from the truth as anybody knows. We make contact with every one of those guys. Now, if we don't get a positive response, we go on about our way. If we get a positive response, we continue to recruit. And this year we had more guys that gave us a positive response. I mean, it's a very simple deal. And next year we'll call every 5-star recruit in the country, and we'll call every 4-star recruit in the country. And if we don't get a positive response, we'll go about our way. If we get a positive response, we will try to recruit them.
When you go up and recruit against the likes of Oregon and Alabama and all these schools, what do you guys have to do anything differently?
We don't do anything differently because I don't think we can. I mean, we have to show them who we are, and we have to show them what we have. We're not gonna make promises that we can't keep. We're not gonna show them things that aren't really there. We're not gonna lie to them. We're gonna show them what we show every recruit that we take in. Every recruit that comes on this campus, we're gonna show them the same things. We're gonna be ourselves. And guess what? Sooner or later, if we can continue to win games, sooner or later that'll be just fine for some of those guys. We got to continue to win games. But them even coming and checking us out means that they're noticing and means that they like the honesty about it.
Do you feel like other schools are watching you guys closely on how you recruit?
I don't think they're watching us too close. As soon as we land one or two of those 5-star guys, there's going to be a lot of people watching. That's another reason you don't change how you recruit. I mean, there's no reason to change anything you do, because once they get here, it is what it is.
Could you talk about your staff and how well they evaluate talent early on?
Well, I think that's yet to be seen. I think we do a good job of evaluation, and the only time we use scouting services is to make sure we don't miss anybody. We don't care what the scouting services evaluation is. We don't care how many stars they have. We don't care what their number is as far as recruits. We evaluate for the kids that would fit into our program and have success in our program. And I think we've done a good job of evaluating over the last 3 years. Okay? Now, this class here, I think we've done a really good job of evaluation, but you'll find out when they start playing, and most of them aren't going to play next year. Well, when they start playing, you'll see how good our evaluation was.
Well, I just meant more as like you'd be on a kid and then 7 months later you'd get offered by a Texas or a USC or Washington.
You know, that's different than in the past. 4 years ago, when I was on the road full time, because head coaches can only see a kid off campus one time. When I was on the road full time, we ended up recruiting a lot of kids that didn't get recruited by many people, and then at the very end, somebody would come in and try to recruit them. All these kids, they were recruited by a whole bunch of schools right off the bat. So we didn't have the luxury of having a hidden one and somebody could come running back in late. Now, a lot of these guys got hit up late. We had some of them that were being recruited last night. You know, we called them up at 2 in the afternoon and said, "How are things?" "Everything's fine, Coach." Called them up at 7. "Well, you know, so-and-so just called me, and so-and-so just called me, and so-and-so just called me." "Yeah, are you all right?" and most of them hung in there, so that's good.
You said you weren't going to make promises you can't keep, which is fair, but 6 weeks ago, I think everybody was expecting you to be playing Big East opponents, and did you get any decommits once you returned to the Mountain West?
No, and I thought we might, but we did not. All the kids, it didn't seem, once they'd been here and see what we have, they didn't seem to care that we were going back to the Mountain West.
Coach, it looks like you recruited the linebackers that you got were all just a lot bigger than some of the backers you've had in the past. Like, is that by design?
Yes.
Are you going after the bigger kids, or are you now being able to make, like?
Well, now you're going to get. Now I'm going to get on my soapbox here. Okay, the game of football is changing. For the better, I don't know. In the days when you could eliminate crossing routes with a really good hit, or you could eliminate a completed pass by knocking the heck out of the quarterback, those days are leaving, because every time you get a good hit on defense, it's a penalty. Every time you touch a quarterback, it's a penalty. So on defense, to counteract that, what you need to do is get long guys. It sounds like basketball. You need to get tall guys with long arms, because you can't eliminate that stuff by collisions anymore. So you have to have people that can expand in space and knock balls down. Now, I'm not sure that's a good change in football, by the way, but that's the way it's going. So if you want to continue to play good defense, you have to change who you recruit. In the past, I recruited quick, fast guys that would knock the out of you. And it didn't matter how big or tall they were. Now, since they don't let you do that anymore, You gotta get long, tall guys that can take up more space.
Is that why you have a couple of guys listed on your list that were former DEs in college, in high school, who are now going to be trying to play?
Yeah, because they're 6'3" and 6'4", and they have long arms.
So is there a risk in trying to look at a kid who played D in high school and trying to make him a linebacker at this level?
Yeah, there certainly is, but you don't have near the. You get so much more film to evaluate now than you used to. You don't make as many mistakes. Just like we recruited a guy that we're going to put at tight end. Well, he's a quarterback. I mean, he played quarterback all through high school, and he's 6 foot, almost 6'5", and he weighs 215 or 220 pounds, and he's a really good athlete, and he can run faster than anything and all that. But we want to make him a tight end. We don't know if he can play tight end, except that he played on a travel 7-on-7 team, and that's all on the internet. And he had to play tight end for that team. So we got on the internet and watched him in 7-on-7 tournaments just to see if he can catch. And guess what? He can catch. So in the past, you took a quarterback and wanted to make him a tight end, you're taking a heck of a chance. Just because he can throw it doesn't mean he can catch it. Okay? But now with the technology the way it is, we found out that he played tight end on this 7-on-7 team, and we were able to watch that film of his 7-on-7 team, and guess what? He can catch. So now it's not near as big a risk as it might have been.
Was there ever any thought once he started being interested in SDSU to see maybe he could play some quarterback as well? Did you guys ever think about that, or were you just strictly recruiting him as a tight end?
No, we thought about that. We have so many quarterbacks in our program now, we couldn't recruit him as a quarterback. And we have right now we have a lack of depth at tight end, so that gives him the best chance to play early.
How important was it for you to, have a dominant year as a tight end? He committed just before the semester started, but he was pretty much way down to the wire. And how important was that for him to, be able to enroll and get into, be able to perform in spring camp coming out soon?
I think it's real important he's here now to get through spring practice. But that is a deal that we lost 2 senior tight ends. We're recruiting nothing but high school tight ends at the time. But as soon as Gavin Escobar decided he was going to the pros, it made it more important for us to try to get a transfer tight end in. So the process of recruiting Dominic was let's find out the best athlete we can find out there and see if he wants to be a tight end for us. And so it was a quick deal, because I was always hoping that Gavin was staying, because I thought it was the best thing for him to stay. And then when he decided to go pro, our recruiting had to pick up really quickly for a transfer tight end.
And Rock, you just mentioned the tight ends, how you guys really losing 3, you're bringing 3, but you're also bringing a whole bunch of tall defensive backs and linebackers too. How happy are you with the way you guys are able to address needs in this class?
Well, as it's already been mentioned, I mean, I think the other problem on defense now is you're getting those 6'4" and 6'5" wide receivers out there, and it's really hard to cover those guys with, even if they're really good players, it's hard to cover those guys with 5'9" corners. Okay, so you have to find some guys that can cover that are 6 foot tall or 6'1". So here again, just like at linebacker, we're trying to get longer, taller guys to fill up space. You're trying to get DBs that can run with 6'5" guys and make a play on the ball. Now, these guys all could do that in high school, and they're all 6 foot or 5'11", 6 foot, 6'1". So that's by, if we want to continue to play well, that's by necessity.
So are you recruiting these 6'3", 6'4" kids now? And are you saying that you did not recruit these taller kids in the past, or did you recruit them but just could never get them to come here? Is there?
No, I think the emphasis was different in the past in our recruiting. It wasn't as important how tall you were. It was how tough a football player and how physical you were. So, I mean, we're the only ones that recruited Jake Feely, and guess what? Jake Feely's a really, really good football player. But part of it is because he plays so hard and he will knock the heck out of you. Well, I mean, here in another 2 years, you won't be able to hit anybody hard. I mean, I'm serious. I mean, we had some calls last year on legal hits now, but because they were kind of very ferocious, a flag went up. I mean, you guys watched every game. You saw them too. And then every time you touch a receiver now, it's interference. So you can't do it with physicalness anymore. I mean, in the past, if you could be the smallest team in the world, if you'd knock the heck out of people and run around, guess what? It worked. Now it's a penalty. So instead of getting it 2nd and 10, now it's 1st and 15 yards down the field.
Coach, once you guys added Coach Toledo to your staff, I mean, what was the impression that I guess that made on the kids in recruiting? Did you get kids say, "Oh, we like that," and did you get kids commit specifically because of who your offensive coordinator could be?
No, when we hired Coach Toledo, we were too far along in the recruiting process. So I don't think it made a difference either way.
Did you lose anyone with Coach Ludwig leaving?
No.
And Coach, speaking of Toledo, have you figured out kind of what his role in recruiting is going to be, whether it's areas or certain positions, or is that still yet to be?
Sure. His role in recruiting is to evaluate talent.
So he's not going to fight like a specific area?
No, he's not going to have an area and probably not be on the road. Now, we might send him out to see some specific recruits.
Along with getting all the signings today, how happy are you to, kind of end on that high note? Because there's one decision around noon today for wide receiver. What was it like to get that news and finish, this entire process?
Well, I've heard other coaches say this is the most exciting day of the year for college football. I think this is a big-time relief that all those letters of intent showed up. I kind of think of it the other way. I mean, I think it's of utmost importance for your program to continue to be successful, to recruit really good players. It's not near the most fun part of football. Most fun part of football is practicing and playing. But you have to do this, and I think that this has gotten a lot. Recruiting's gotten a lot more hype, pomp, and circumstance than it should be. And for an old guy, it's kind of glad that it's over.
But specifically for that recruit that committed today, what was it like just because he announced over the internet, kind of on an internet stream, what was it like to,
See, they can announce it. They can have their own press conference. They can develop their own press conference now. I'm glad. I guess I was glad he did it because he put the right hat on. And it was good that the letter of intent got here. Yeah, that was good. Guess what? Now he's got to prove he can play.